I am sitting here with one of our true legends. He probably is tired of people going on and on about him, but he's one of the coolest guys that's ever been in our business. So honored to have him in the studio. Kenny Rogers is here visiting with us
Well, thanks
today.
for having me here. And you never get tired of hearing that, even though I don't believe half of it. But it's been a great life for me and a great career. And I look back on it with fond memories of things I've done with some of the duets I've sung and the people I've met, the friends I've made. That's what really makes it so special for me.
We were just talking about photography. I'm laughing because I'm doing a little benefit thing this weekend, and some lady asked, how I wanted to be introduced, for this.
Yeah.
A deal with Mac Davis, a little thing out of
cool,
Leapersburg. Yeah. I said, just go on and on. It's
Yeah, just even if they're not true, just give me some credentials.
just
One of my
keep
favorites.
on-
One of my favorite stories is I was receiving an award here in town, and when I was 14, I sang at a talent show, and Eddie Arnold was there, and I won the talent show, and I won a quart of vanilla ice cream. That tells you how big deal it was.
Wow.
But he was the host, so when I got this award, they asked if he would introduce me, and he got up and he said, I like this guy. He's done a lot for country music, and I think he's deserves a lot of credit. He's running, just going on for like 5 minutes, and then at the last he says, but for the life of me, I can't remember his name. I wanted to use that to open my show. What a great opener. Have Eddie Arnold say, but for the life of me, I can't remember his name. But it was so special for me.
You actually played bass or something for Eddie Arnold, did you?
No,
Did
no.
I read somewhere where you maybe did sessions with him or something?
No, not really, but I would have liked to because I loved him. He was like the country gentleman, and he sang some beautiful songs too. But he was just an all-around nice guy.
Wasn't he great?
Oh, he was wonderful.
We actually we got to spend a little time kind of later in his career, and we got to be friends a little bit and watch some football games together. And he was
What else do you need?
The country gentleman,
Country gentleman.
Good way of describing him. But you never played with him. And see, you did sing The Gambler, though, right?
I did sing The Gambler. Got some of these facts right. No, but I'll take credit. I'll just say, yeah, I played bass for Eddie Arnold. How's that? No.
Well, I think it's cool. You're a really accomplished musician, though, and I know you did some studio playing and whatever.
Well, yeah, I used to be an accomplished musician. I was with a jazz group for 10 years. I played upright bass and sang really avant-garde, very difficult jazz. And I just loved it. But then when that group broke up, I went to the New Christy Minstrels, which is folk music, the ultimate in simplicity. But I learned about social story songs. That's what I got from the Christies. If you're smart, you take something from everything you do. Mm-hmm. So what I got from that was songs like Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town, Reuben James, Coward of the County, The Gambler, Lucille, where they're songs that not just words, they're stories that the best story songs put you in a place, take you on a journey, and drop you off at the end. And if all these songs that I've done that were story songs are like that. So my bass playing, I think, really helped me. I've always said I'm a country singer with a lot of other musical influences. And I learned something from everywhere I've been.
Well, those stories, you got that awesome place in your voice that is... I don't know.
I sound sad.
You don't. You just, you have a voice that makes people want to listen. And not everybody can sing a story song because...
it's so funny, and I know this sounds crazy. I don't get it. I sound like me to me, and I don't understand what's so unique about it. And but I'm thrilled that it's there, and I'm thrilled that people recognize it. So I think that's one of the great gifts is once you get over that hurdle to where people recognize your voice, then proper song selection is the most important thing.
Well, I don't want to overanalyze your God-given talent, but, you said something when you first came in here and sat down. We were asking me what I was into, and, I'm just got 9 different things going, all of which I enjoy. I can't wait to get up in the morning because I really do.
You have to.
Every day's like a vacation for me, even coming in here and talking to you. This is just, this is fun. I get to... visit with somebody whose career I admire and follow and whatever. But I think you seem to have a good job of focusing on what you're doing. Now, what did you say when you first came in? How'd you describe it?
That I'm an obsessive, what is the word? What's the word? I'm an impulsive obsessive. I impulsively get involved with things, and then I obsess with them. I started playing tennis, and I carried a tennis pro on the road with me. We played 8 hours a day, every day. I actually had a national ranking, one rank above Bjorn Borg in doubles. So that's my claim to fame. I played Bobby Riggs in a match for charity.
Wow.
So I just, I became a decent tennis player. And that's my whole thing is, so then when I got in photography, I didn't want to just take pictures, because the difference between a picture and a photograph is where you take it from. So you have to learn the concepts of photography, and I studied with some of the best people in the world. And I take it seriously, because if I'm going to do something, I don't need to be the best at it. I just want to be appreciated by the best,
That's saying something. The reason that I bring that up is because I think really probably the most important part of being a great singer is to be able to focus and concentrate on what you're singing about.
And I think you have to understand and appreciate what it is that makes that song special. Because I've always chosen two types of songs, and if you go back, you can almost separate them. One is the ballads that say what every man would like to say and every woman would like to hear. Through the years, She Believes Me, You Decorated My Life, Lady. Those all fall into that category. And the other is songs that have some social comment. Reuben James was about a black man who raised a white child. Ruby Don't Take Your Love to Town, about a Vietnam War vet who came home and his wife's having an affair. Coward of the County was about a rape. And then if you listen to Lucille, it's a family falling apart. And those are the songs that I think people relate to. I don't like to just sing words. I've never enjoyed that.
But when you sing those songs, as many times as you've sung them, my guess is your brain probably always goes to some real picture of what's going on there.
It goes to what made me like the song in the first place, And I do. When I do Daytime Friends and Nighttime Lovers, I can just see this couple out there, And I think that's part of the trick. If it's real enough, you'll see it, and every night you have to I'm amazed at how many more women know that song than men, which scares me.
So you got this thing out now that's, and it's one reason I saw a picture of you and Dolly. She was playing banjo, and I just adore her. And I'm so jealous that you guys have gotten to make so much music together and special music over the years.
Everybody always thought we were having an affair. I said, no, that would have taken the fun of it. We just flirted with each other for 30 years, And that's true, though. We come in a room, and my wife's sitting there, and we start flirting with each other, but it's harmless, And she knows that I love her and I trust her, and I think she knows that she can trust me. And we have to be very careful because we're so close that she knows that whatever she asks me, I will do, even if I don't want to do it. I know that whatever I ask her, she will do if she doesn't want to do it. But so we try not to ask each other things that we think might be marginal. So when I found this song, I called her and I played it for her, and she said, "Oh, we have to do that. We have to do that."
Well, I'm glad you did.
She's a special girl.
Yeah. And Don Schlitz, who wrote The Gamblers, one of the writers on this song.
He can't write. I don't know. He keeps fooling himself. He's an interesting guy because this is I think a wonderful story behind this song. I was in California doing a thing called Stagecoach. It's a country music festival. Mm-hmm. And a guy walks backstage and says, "Kenny, my name's Ryan King." And he said, "I'm William King of the Commodore's son." And he said, and I said, "God, Ryan, I haven't seen you since you were 6 or 7 years old." He said, "Yeah, I was sitting around with some friends of mine the other day, and we were talking about how some of my favorite memories as a child was when I went to your place in Athens, Georgia, and would ride the golf carts and the go-karts and stuff." And he said, "I realized you can't make old friends. You either have them or you don't." And it just struck me. What an incredible statement that was. That and how observant it was. So the next day I'm in New York helping Don Schlitz be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I told him this story, and he said, "Oh, you have to let me write that." And I said, "Well, to have at it." In one day, he sent me that song.
Oh, really?
I mean, it was so perfect for mine and Dolly's relationship.
You write songs much anymore?
You know, I can, but I don't. You know, I'm kind of like you. I've got so many other things going on that I don't. And I live in Atlanta, and I can't play guitar. My hand doesn't work anymore, so it's hard to write without some musical accompaniment. But I write, like if the guys in the band and I, two of them, we wrote a one-act play called The Toy Shop, and Billy Dean's going to do it in Branson this year. We did it on Broadway for 6 weeks, and
cool.
I co-wrote all the music on that and some of the lyrics, and it's really, I can do it if I have to. But great writers have to write. I don't have to write. I don't have that burning, but if I'm asked to write, I can contribute. And
sometimes I wish I could shake that thing.
Having to write.
It's like I got a final exam coming up, and I know I got to go study for it, or I'm going to make a D and my dad's going to get really pissed off, And so I'll just go downstairs when I'm totally not in the mood, and I'll pick up my guitar and I'll find out at about 30 minutes in, I've really fascinated myself with some half-ass lyric I came up with it. Eventually somebody will come along and go, hey, we'll say something special or whatever. And you go, yeah, I try to stay tuned up so at least I can deal with a good idea when they occasionally come along.
And that's the trick, is being able to, I'll give you a good idea. How's that? I was watching Sting on Crossroads with Vince Gill, and Vince Gill asked him, he asked Vince Gill, he said, why do you think you were a success? And he said, because I cared enough to try. And to me, that is a great song title.
That's
it
a
can
nice
go
line.
a bunch of different ways. That it worked because I cared, or it didn't work.
Of course,
but
now
I
we got everybody on the internet. Just heard you say that. So now we're racing.
So much for sharing a good idea.
No, it's like, it's been great having Kenny Rogers in today. And Kenny, thanks for coming. I'm going to run grab my guitar, but y'all, he may have something else he wants to tell y'all. I'll be right back.
I just thought it was such a poignant, and it can go a bunch of ways, because I started thinking about it, and I thought, maybe I'll try writing, and I thought, I don't care. I don't have time. I have identical twins, 9 years old. I don't have time to write songs.
So they're 9
years old.
Wow. I was wondering how old they were.
They're like little linebackers. I swear they're going to be great bodyguards for me someday. But they're so cute, and I'm so worried because I know in a year or two this is all going to change. And I say it respectfully, but, right now when they go to a place they've never been before, they still hold hands going in. I mean, they're still kids.
Yeah.
And you stand behind them and you walk behind them and you go, that is so cool. And, when we heard we were having twins, first of all, I thought I saw 3 heartbeats. So I was freaking out. So when he told me it was twins, I was thrilled. But, when you sit there and you watch them play, and they'll go out in a room by themselves, and they just entertain each other. They just love each other, and it's a very cool thing.
Wow, do they talk together? Do they repeat each other? I mean, some
they
twins
have an interesting
will talk.
thing. What they do is they'll watch a movie or they'll watch something or hear a song, and they'll play it over and over. They don't say a word. They play it over and over, and I mean ad nauseum. And then the next thing you know, they play it, and they both sing every word, say every dialogue. It's just like they kind of learn it together. Okay, now we're ready. Here we come. But they learn so much because they don't mind listening, re-listening, listening, re-listening. So
that's funny.
It's a great age. I'm sorry I'm not going to be around for when they're really older and mature. But
what makes you think you won't?
It's like Dolly. She said, Kenny, we're doing this song, but I could never sing at your funeral. I said, you're assuming I'm going to go first. Is that what you're saying? But I don't know. I mean, I'm in great health. I never smoked, never drank coffee, never did drugs. So I deserve another couple of years. Don't you think?
Tell me coffee's not bad for you.
The coffee's actually supposed to be good for you.
Oh, good.
I just can't drink it. My dad used to drink coffee, and he put so much sugar in his coffee. And I used to go when he'd finish, and I'd drink it. And I go, oh, how do you drink this stuff? So I can't do it. I can't drink it. No.
Oh, that's fun. I think, having 9-year-olds at this point in your career has, it's kind of
They say,
just pumped some new
having
energy
kids
into
at my
you.
age either make you or break you. And right now I'm leaning heavily toward break. But it's a great, I must say, my life is, and I hate to use this word, but it's so perfect because I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I sign enough autographs to satisfy my ego, but not so many that it invades my privacy. And it's a great place to be. Because no one wants to be forgotten, but you don't, I remember those days when you couldn't really comfortably go anywhere.
Yeah.
And now my audience is are very courteous. And, how are you? Good to see you,
So are you and Dolly touring together? Or?
Well, right now, no.
But are you have any plans to maybe work this song a little bit?
Yeah, we've talked about it. And, she's got 100 things going on, and I respect that. And so I don't want to mention it because I don't want to be the one that asks her for a favor. So we'll do that through management.
Yeah.
Dolly, I don't know how to reach Dolly. I've known her for 30 years. I have no phone number on her. She doesn't email. She faxes. That way you can't respond and you can't get in touch with her. I said,
because she's the only one that's got a fax.
That's right.
How can you fax out when nobody else has one?
I guess you don't text either, do you? But, I told her the other day, I said, Dolly, I called her to tell her, I sent her a message to say how great I thought she sang on the song.
Oh, she did.
And I said,
too.
I would have called
Both of you.
Or I would have texted you, but I don't have an email or a phone address. So I send her this message. I get an email back. I got your message. Thanks a lot. And it was in a fax. But, that's what I love about her. She is what she is. And she doesn't want, I get it. She doesn't want people calling her and asking her for favors. But I would never do
I
that.
can't imagine, Kenny, that Dolly's real worried about you invading her privacy.
Well, having said that, I would never, ever, ever, ever do that.
I know exactly what you're saying. And it is sort of in our world, it's sort of a unspoken thing about asking people to do stuff and whatever.
Once you give
like
out your
that.
phone number, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
And your email address, you can't get it back. But I'm different from most people. You ask me something, I'll say no. If I can't do it, I'll tell you why, and I'll just say no. But it's you worry about someone's interpretation of that no.
Sure.
Because it's not
like, are you too good for
judgment.
them or whatever? Yeah.
It's
sure.
like once you do that, then I can't do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to say it as gracefully as I can, but
because you're a caring person, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings anyway.
But I like people having access to me. And not the public, but people that I know and care about. I like for them to be able to call me and say, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah, and there are those special times when you want to be able to call somebody if you do want to ask them, like if you were, which would never happen, but if you were, say, inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, that'll never happen. Yeah. That'll never happen.
What does that feel like? How did you get the news?
I was sitting at my house one day watching television, which I do all day, and I got a phone call, and it's from Steve Moore. And he said, Kenny, this is Steve Moore. And I knew that name. But I said, Steve, I'm so sorry. And first of all, I was concerned about how he got my phone number in light of our conversation.
Dude, who are you?
Yeah, Steve, where'd you get my number? So I was smart enough to listen for a second. And he said, I'm president of the Country Music Hall of Fame. And said, we wanted to tell you something. And I thought they wanted to use my photography, which they had done once before, and put about 30 of them up in the Hall of Fame and show that. And he said, no, I want to be the first to tell you that you're being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame this year. And for whatever reasons, thank you felt so inadequate. That's a big, big deal, because hits come and go, songs come and go, artists come and go, but that's forever. And I told him, I said, well, Steve, as nicely as I can say this, I'm so glad it happened now. If it had happened at the peak of my success, when I had so much going on, I don't think I could have truly appreciated it as much as I do now. Because with my twin boys, my wife, and my two older boys, we'll all be able to share it together. So I appreciate that. It was very exciting. But I just think it just seemed so inadequate,
And then what'd you do? You hung up the phone, and what went through your head?
I thought, this is really weird. I knew better than to tell my wife, because she'd tell everybody. I swear, I've never seen anything like that. I did a song once with a friend of mine, and I brought a demo home, and and I said, now don't play this for anybody, because this is not my project. I'm a part of it. Okay. Next thing I know, I mean, I'm telling you, if I ever want anything, I'm going to send her all a new album, because she has no concept of privacy or keeping a secret. But it's I just kept thinking what I just told you, how special it is that it happened now, instead of 15, 20 years ago. And believe me, I sat at the Ryman last night. I did a show at the Ryman.
Right.
And I was sitting there looking around at all the pictures of the Opry stars and all that. And I thought, I get it. I know why they didn't put me in, because I felt so out of place. Because I kind of came from a different place, and I get it. I get it. To see my picture on that wall would go, what's he doing up here? So I'm assuming that I deserve it. I've certainly got the credentials for it.
I'll
but
say.
It's a question, and I just spoke at a function, and I said, I'm going to catch some flack for this. But they were talking about what's country and what's not country, and I said, let me tell you the best way I know how to say this. Country music has to make a decision. Are you a business or are you an art form? If you're an art form, kick everybody out that doesn't sound like Hank Williams. If you're a business, you need to see how many records you can sell. And right now, people like Taylor Swift and the young artists that are coming in, what they're doing is bringing in a lot of young people that might go to rap or go to some other destructive form of music. And country music is a white man's rhythm and blues. It's where all the pain is. So I said, be thrilled with that. Be happy with that. And because I caught a lot of flack.
Yeah. Well, you defined a whole era, a style, and from the Gambler to Coward of the County, the songs you mentioned. I mean, that those are great stories. They define a whole very important element of country music, and you did it in spades. So you don't have any reason to be sheepish in any way. And even Hank Williams, I mean, we were talking about Eddie Arnold earlier, he was a pop star.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was.
Yeah.
And Hank, I mean, who knows if where the melody came from, if it was New York or came out of some kind of Alabama. But you look at what the Carter sisters were doing, or even before that, any kind of Appalachian, that purist music, and then you listen to da 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 da. I mean, that melody didn't come out of West Virginia. Sorry,
Yeah.
So I've always said, man, those country music fans, they will throw a fit at those programmers if they don't like it.
Yeah,
and they will not, and they will not play it. And
country
your
music is what country people will buy.
Exactly.
If you get too far out there, they quit buying.
They decide what our genre is.
But look at the weirdest song I've ever done for the first edition was just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. It was written by Mickey Newberry, one of the biggest country writers.
Oh, yeah.
And he went to high school with me.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah.
I had forgotten that. And he was one of my favorite people.
Oh,
Don Gant was
too.
my first publisher, so Mickey was over there all the time. They were big buddies.
Well, Mickey and I sang in
talent.
a group in high school. Mickey always wanted to be in our group, but he couldn't sing and he couldn't play. I said, well, just tell me what you're going to do if we let you in. And he said, I'm going to learn to sing and play. So he went and bought a guitar, locked himself in his bedroom the entire summer school. When he came out, he sang exactly they did the way he died. He played guitar like that. Then he was too good for us. But he was just an amazing talent.
Good.
With
For
a great
people that don't
insight.
remember, like the trilogy before Elvis, if you ever heard that other amazing voice, that's who that was. And he actually put those songs together.
Yeah.
And
he just was a talent beyond his years. Really.
What a voice. Good grief. Yeah.
I listened to some of his old stuff he wrote. He wrote some stuff that I did because San Francisco's Mabel Joy, where he was in the military and he had this girl in San Francisco named Mabel Joy, and he went back to find her and she was gone looking for him. But it was tragically wonderful, But he had a way of capturing that.
Your ceremony for your induction into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I'm going. Oh,
you will be
I'm sorry,
there. But I mean, do you get to pick the people who will? You don't really know. Do you know who's involved or anything else? You got to be excited about
and
that.
I said, don't tell me. Let me find out when I get there.
How fun!
That'll be fun. It'll be great.
You know it will. That's great. Well, as you know, I'm a huge fan, and I'm not going to keep pounding on that. But man, when I heard that news personally, I was so excited.
You know, and I appreciate that.
It's a huge deal.
Like I said, I now that I've said at the Ryman and look, I get it. I miss Johnny Cash. You know, I miss Waylon Jennings. I miss Willie Nelson still here. I miss the richness of what they sang about, what they did. Mm-hmm. But is it a business? Is it an art form? If it's an art form, get rid of me and everybody else in it. I get it. But if it's a business and everybody's saying country music is going down, well, it's not going down. It's actually, if you look at sales, the problem is the business has changed. Used to be they bought 10 songs to get one. Now they download each song. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is twofold. When you buy an album and you hear 10 songs, you get to know that artist. You get to know something about the things he cares about, she cares about, and you understand what their point of life is. Mm-hmm. Now you download one song and you have no idea what the backstory is on that artist. And I think that, you know, my theory has always been that the longer it takes you to hit your peak, the longer the glide ratio down. The quicker you go up, the quicker you come down. Because we're living really in an American Idol mentality right now. Find out somebody that's coming up. Okay, let's make him the star out of those 7 people. And they make him the star and say, okay, who's next? Let's go grab on that horse. And they forget about you. And it's not wrong. It's just different. And everybody needs to grasp reality here, you know. And if you can do that, then you ride the wave and get it over with, you know. But
well, let me ask you this, because I remember when I was a little girl.
Got it.
And my big sister used to have dance parties in our living room, and she had this little suitcase-looking thing that you flip up, and she would stack these little 45s on them about that high, and they would go to dancing, and there wasn't albums on these acts. They were singles. And it was a singles mentality. And you couldn't get the whole grasp of who it was. You stacked up all these different acts, one after the other, and danced. I mean, is what's happening today that different than what was happening? And you know what? Those 45s cost $1.
Yeah.
And that's what they cost today. I mean, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
After all these years, the price, the distribution, I mean, it's on obviously you download it from iTunes, but the price of that song is about the same.
It's cheaper. It's 99 cents on that.
Yeah. But isn't that strange, though?
It is.
It's the same kind of, you know, then we went through this album thing, and I couldn't agree with you more. That was neat to get to grasp a whole journey, you know, that went along with that single. But now we're sort of back to where it was.
Except the artist can't make any money on single downloads. To support a career, you needed that $5.99 for the album or whatever it was, because you made a percentage of that. And on a download, what do you make, 20 cents or something?
But what did you make off a single on? I mean, when you first started making records, you had to be putting out singles, right?
Oh yeah, but the singles were sent out to represent the album. Mm-hmm. Say, if you like this, here's 10 more, and that's where the sales came from. I mean, and what's interesting is when they went from albums to cassettes, or I guess that was next, wasn't it?
8 tracks, cassettes.
I freaked out. I thought, oh man, I'm not going to say. Well, the people who had albums had to go buy 8 tracks to keep the same music. So I resold everything again. But it was, you know, and it's just, I think it's a different world, and technology is always going to be cheaper than talent. You know, so this technology world we're living in, they said that technology doubles every year. So what's out there now is going to be twice as good next year. So put off buying your new phone.
I have.
You should see
I don't
my
like
phone.
the color of
You
this
should see my
new
phone.
iPhone.
I've got one of those little phones like that, and people laugh at me. I said, I don't want to text on my phone. I want to call. I want to call somebody and say hello. You know, but Wanda gets so mad at me because she'll send me these long texts, and I'll say, okay. You know.
But before we get to, and I know we got people dying to talk to you on the internet too, but before we do that, I got to ask you about Big Lebowski. I mean, to have what condition my conditions. And if you were on tour with me, you better be able to quote Lebowski, or you won't have a clue what my crew guys are talking about.
What a great movie, though.
Oh, and everybody loves hearing you sing that. Was there some kind of? There had to be some sort of cult resurgence for you, being in that movie.
What was interesting is, I think my understanding is it's the only time, even today, they've ever used an entire song in its entirety in a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they start with
yeah.
That's Glenn Campbell playing guitar on that.
I knew that too, but most people probably don't. What a great
Well,
guitar
Mike
player.
Post produced it, and Mike Post has gone on to do big things. But he when he started producing it, in those days it was tape. And he was rewinding the tape, and he heard Glenn solo. He said, "Ooh, let's play it that way." So he just turned it over and played it that way. But it's the Big Lebowski. It's funny the time, because I do that in the show now. I do Condition.
Oh, do you?
And I do film of me when I was 35.
Oh, how
had
cool!
Black hair, and it's really funny to watch.
Y'all are cool, man.
I'm happening. I'm a happening dude.